Welcome to Walk in Truth. These are the Bible teachings of Pastor Michael Lantz, equipping you to reach out with God's truth to all people and apply that truth to today's issues, trends, and culture. Learn more when you visit walkintruth.com. Now here's part 2 of Pastor Michael's teaching in 2 Samuel chapter 11, verses 6 through 27, called The Anatomy of a Fall, the Cover-Up.
So David is going to go into a cover-up, and it's going to be a sad situation. In fact, he seems to have covered his sin for about a year. He's going to write about this as we look at chapter 12. In Psalm 32 and Psalm 51, he will write about that year. Psalm 51 is at the end of that year. And he will talk about how miserable he was. He felt like he was dried up, like his bones were aching, like the heavy hand of God was pressing on him. We'll get to that when we look at chapter 12. So here's what David does. David sent to Joab, 2 Samuel 11:6, saying, "Send me Uriah the Hittite." Now he's the hubby of Bathsheba. So Joab sent Uriah to David. And when Uriah came to him, to the king, David asked concerning the welfare of Joab. He's the commander, and the people, and the state of the war. Now they're fighting the Ammonites. Uriah would have to have traveled about 40 miles to get to the king. He's one of David's top 32 fighting men. Why David will pull him off the battlefield? It would be like pulling your best player off the field to talk about what you thought about the movie that you saw last night. What are you talking about? You don't take one of your top 32 soldiers off the battlefield to talk about the state of the war. You can get any runner to do that. Why did he call Uriah? Because David has a plan. Here's his cover-up plan. If I can get this guy to sleep with his wife, then the child that she has within her, it will be thought that that child belongs to the natural parents. What a plan. And by the way, since the clock has been ticking, and probably a month or more has gone by, there's an urgency to David's plan. Amen? He needs to get things moving quickly. And David was a great strategist, and he had a great mind. And so he starts to put together how he's going to go into cover-up mode. All of us know something about cover-up mode. Some years ago, I was at a baseball field, and I was throwing some pitches to a young man, and he hit a ball over a fence, and there was a car coming, and he broke the windshield of the car. And the young man, who was probably a teenager at the time, looked at me and said, "Should we run?" And I said, "Yes." Oh, wait a minute. I'm Pastor Michael Lantz. That would be a bad career move. I mean, our first instinct is to run. I remember years ago when we had come home and we used to play football in the living room, much to my wife's chagrin. All the lamps were taped together. 3 boys taking on their father. Oh, it was glorious. Bam, bam, boom, crash, bang. And you'd have times when, who broke the lamp? I didn't break it. Right? And we go into what's called blame shift 101. Adam, when he was confronted by God in Genesis 3, said, "The woman that you gave me, it's your fault, God. I was fine in the garden with the animals until you brought her along." Oh, wait a minute. I mean, you're the one that said it's not good for man to be alone. I didn't say that. But when Adam saw her, what did he say? Whoa, man. Loose translation. She is bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. Oh, he liked her. But now, after the fall, we go into cover-up mode. Is there hope for us if we didn't take the way of escape? If we actually fall on our face? Well, Proverbs says a righteous man falls 7 times a day and gets back up. Look, we don't want to continue to skin our knee, but sometimes it happens. So what do we do after we've fallen? Remember, I've told you in 1 Corinthians 10, you kind of want to scream at David through the corridor of time, take the way of escape. Don't do this, King David. But he's going to get lower and lower and lower. Sin will take you farther than you ever thought it could and cost you more than you could ever imagine. Where's the serpent now that they're cowering in the corner? He's a liar. Jesus said he's the father of lies. Do you understand who we're dealing with here? He was a murderer from the beginning. He seeking someone to devour. And so Uriah comes into town. Do you think that there were whispers about the king's fling in Jerusalem? Do you think at least it was in the Jerusalem Inquirer? In the supermarket line, the king has a fling? I don't know. But I think it's possible, since the advisors of David and others seemed to know that he had called for her, there were other people involved, maybe what happened was that Uriah knew. I don't know, but David asked him, well, how's it going? What about the welfare of Joab? How are things going? David was not really interested in Uriah's well-being. Uriah had simply become a tool towards David's end. And when we get caught into sin, people become our tools to cover up our mess. Sadly. And so David is making small talk, but it's really all about his pride. It's all self-serving. Everything he did was about self-preservation and self-serving. David Jeremiah said, it's not about how many people are serving you, David. It's about how many you are serving. That's what humility asks. How many people can I serve? It's not about me being served, but serving. Even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life, what? As a ransom for many. Do you want to find fulfillment in this life? Start serving other people. Amen. Start being a person that you can give to others and give hope and encouragement. What David really wanted was for Uriah to get home and sleep with his wife. And so here's Uriah. There's some indication from Leviticus 15, I think it's verse 18, that if you were with your wife intimately, it might render you at least temporarily unfit for the battlefield. So this could be part of why Uriah doesn't go home. But David said to Uriah, go down to your house, wash your feet. It's a euphemism for go be with your wife intimately. And Uriah went out of the king's house, and a present from the king was sent out after him. Some wine, some chocolate maybe. I don't know what he gave him. But David wanted to encourage this encounter. So he sent him home. But Uriah, verse 9, slept. Literally, he lay, which is an echo of verse 4, at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his Lord, and did not go down to his house. Now, when they told David, saying Uriah did not go down to his house, David said to Uriah, have you not come from a journey? Why did you not go down to your house? What's almost implied here is a thinly veiled questioning of his manhood. Are you kidding me? Why didn't you go be with your wife? You've been away for a long time. What's wrong with you, man? And Uriah said to David, 11, the ark and Israel and Judah are staying in temporary shelters, and my lord Joab and the servants of my lord are camping in the open field. Shall I then go to my house and eat and drink and lie with my wife? By your life and the life of your soul, I will not do this thing. Now, if you're David, you got to be thinking, boy, this guy's a piece of work. Here I pull him off the battlefield. I give him a vacation. I give him chocolate. I try to get him to be with his wife. And this guy's talking about honor and the ark and his comrades on the battlefield. Are you kidding me? Oh, no, we're not kidding, David. Apparently, Uriah is not going with the program of your cover-up. Isn't it unfortunate when people don't go with our program? I mean, David's thinking, I'm the king. I gave this guy a respite. But behind all of this is David's what? Motivation to cover his tracks. He wants a cover-up. He wants Uriah on board. And Uriah says, I will not do this thing. In Genesis 39, it's good to contrast Joseph with David. What happened was Potiphar's wife, and you just write down for your notes, Genesis 39, 7 through 10. Potiphar's wife every day was coming to Joseph. Joseph was a good-looking young man. He had been lonely, sold into slavery, had every reason to give in to temptation. And daily she said, be with me, be with me, be with me. And he said, listen to these words. How can I do this thing and sin against God and sin against my master? The only thing he's not given to me, I'm over the whole household, is you. You're his wife. I cannot do this thing. Do you think that David might have heard the echo of Joseph's words in Uriah? Maybe that should have kind of lit off the siren for David. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? Maybe it's time to come clean now, but there's a huge cost to come clean at this point.
You'll hear more from Pastor Michael in a moment.
Did you miss part of today's message? You can always listen again on demand. Catch every teaching from Pastor Michael Lantz on the Walk in Truth app or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's an easy way to keep growing in God's Word and stay grounded in biblical truth throughout your week. Just search for Walk in Truth and start listening anytime.
Your financial support helps keep Walk in Truth on the radio, and it also helps us reach people all over the world through the podcast. That means someone driving home from work, someone on a morning walk, or even someone on the other side of the globe can hear the hope of Jesus right when they need it most. And here's the cool part, every gift helps. Even a small step like becoming a monthly partner for just $5 a month makes a big impact. Think about it, for the price of less than one coffee, you could help keep Bible teaching going out day after day. So would you join us? Head over to walkintruth.com. That's walkintruth.com and become a partner today. And thank you.
We'd love to hear from you. If today's teaching on Walk in Truth encouraged you, challenged you, or raised a question, reach out and let us know. Send your comments, reactions, or questions to contact@walkintruth.com or give us a call at 844-48-TRUTH. Your story and feedback matter, and they help us continue equipping believers to apply God's truth to their daily walk. That's contact@walkintruth.com or 844-48-TRUTH. We look forward to hearing from you.
We'd love to see who's listening, so please connect with us on Facebook or Instagram. Just do a search for Walk in Truth Show. Now, back to Pastor Michael Lantz right here on Walk in Truth.
Potiphar's wife every day was coming to Joseph. Joseph was a good-looking young man. He had been lonely, sold into slavery, had every reason to give in to temptation. And daily she said, be with me, be with me, be with me. And he said, listen to these words. How can I do this thing and sin against God and sin against my master? The only thing he's not given to me, I'm over the whole household, is you. You're his wife. I cannot do this thing. Do you think that David might have heard the echo of Joseph's words in Uriah? Maybe that should have kind of lit off the siren for David. Oh my goodness, what am I doing? Maybe it's time to come clean now, but there's a huge cost to come clean at this point. David doesn't even know if he might have to die for a capital crime. And so this man's honor is remarkable. Now, if you know the story of Joseph, Joseph finally had to run away from Potiphar's wife, and she accused him of trying to rape her. And Joseph ended up in a jail. Some of you are thinking, oh, great. You do the right thing, and you end up in jail. Prison. But do you know that in Joseph's story, the prison became an elevator to the palace? Joseph would not sleep with her, and if he had, she probably would have said something like this, oh, all the gods all over the world, including Israel's God, they're all the same. This guy's no different than any other guy that I would have slept with because he slept with me too. He would have ruined his witness. Now, he had to be in the jail for quite some time, in the prison for quite some time. But finally, he was remembered because of his dream interpretation. And he gets elevated before the king and gives the interpretation. And the prison becomes a doorway to the palace. Flip it around. For David, the palace became a doorway to the prison. Think about it. David thought, if I could just cover it up, I'll do the wrong thing because it's expedient. And David entered his own personal prison of sin. Wow. Do you know that there's a Hebrew word for sin in the Old Testament? It's called kata. It literally means katas. It's C-H-A-T-A. It literally means to build a wall around yourself. Here's the picture. Brick by brick until you've imprisoned yourself in your own prison of making. That's what sin is. Each time you sin, you pave another brick in the wall. And all we are is just another brick. Never mind. Can you strike that from the record? Why did I even? And you put it in place, and you got your little paver thing, whatever that thing's called, and you place another brick in the wall, and that pattern becomes your prison. David's not free. They'll tell you today, oh, you know what, the Bible's archaic. What you want is sexual freedom. And then you start making your own prison. And the only thing that will cause the walls to come down in that prison, please hear me, is humility. Please know this man standing up here was not born a preacher. I did not grow up with the dream of becoming a pastor. I did just about everything you can do the wrong way. I'm not talking to you from some ivory tower. I've tasted both sides of this track, folks. And so, David should have heard the words of Joseph in Uriah's response, and his cover-up plan fails. So David said to Uriah, verse 12, stay here today also, and tomorrow I will let you go. You want to go back to the battlefield? So Uriah remained in Jerusalem that day and the next. Now David called him, and he ate and drank before him. And notice this, David made him drunk. And in the evening, he went out to lie on his bed with his Lord's servants, but he did not go down to his house. Why is King David trying to get Uriah drunk now? Because he thinks that he will lower his inhibitions of honor. Folks, when you get drunk, when you let an intoxicant or a drug come into your body, you start to lose the natural inhibitions. Where you might put up a shield of honor in a certain area, you let your guard down. And that's what David was hoping to do. David the king is sunk so low, he's trying to get this guy drunk so he'll give in and go to his wife. But Uriah would not go down. And it came about in the morning that David wrote a letter to Joab. David's got 2 strikes. This guy's not with the program. So finally, David writes a letter to his commander, and he sent it by the hand of Uriah, 15. And he had written in the letter saying, place Uriah in the front line of the fiercest battle and withdraw from him so that he may be struck down and die. We only got 2 options here. Either I die or he dies. And I don't want to die, David says to himself. So he needs to die. Do you see the slippery slope that David's on? Man. I mean, he is sinking incrementally with each step. And we want to say, David, time out, stop, just come clean. He's going to come clean after a year and be forgiven. But that year, as I mentioned, is going to bring a lot of consequences. David, in essence, says, he must die to spare me. And the gospel says that Jesus died so that we might live. Jesus came into the world with a death note. God so loved the world that he gave his only son. Numbers 32:23 says, Be sure that your sin will find you out. Proverbs 28:13 says, "He who conceals or covers his transgression will not prosper. But he who confesses and forsakes them will find compassion. How blessed is the man who fears always, but he who hardens his heart will fall into calamity." Now David is going to become a murderer. And so it was, as Joab kept watch, he was besieging the city, that he put Uriah at the place where he knew there were valiant men, probably at the city gate. And the men of the city, these are Ammonites, went out and fought against Joab. And some of the people among David's servants fell. And Uriah the Hittite also died. Joab, who was related to David, saw the note. It was sealed with the king's signet. He was literally carrying his own death note. If he was carrying it and maybe had an inkling that David was up to no good, would you be tempted to break the seal and look inside the letter? But he didn't. He brought the letter faithfully to the commander, Joab. Joab looked at it and he complied with the king's order. They were winning the war. There was no reason to do this, but he put him where the fiercest battle was, where the best of the remaining soldiers of Ammon were, and Uriah's dead. And I ask you, do you want to be that guy? Do you want to be that girl that lets sin take you to this kind of place? Well, Joab sent and reported to David all the events of the war, 19, and he charged the messenger saying, "When you have finished telling all the events of the war to the king, and if it happens that the king's wrath rises and he says to you, 'Why did you go so near to the city to fight? Did you not know that they would shoot from the wall? Who struck down Abimelech, the son of that person, Jerubasheth? Did not a woman throw an upper millstone on him from the wall so that he died at Thebez? Why did you go so near the wall?'" This is what Joab's imagining that David, who's a great military man, would say. "Then you shall say to the king when he asks this, 'Your servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also.' If he asks you about my strategy, just tell him, 'By the way, king, Uriah is dead.'"
You've been listening to The Anatomy of a Fall, The Cover-Up, Part 2 on Walk in Truth. That was Pastor Michael's teaching in 2 Samuel chapter 11, verses 6 through 27. If you need prayer or encouragement, call us at 844-48-TRUTH. That's 844-48-TRUTH. Now here's Pastor Michael with a final word.
Well, one of the temptations beyond, hiding when we sin is blame shifting or just excusing away what we did. We justify our actions. We say, well, if it wasn't for this, if it wasn't for that, then this wouldn't happen. And hopefully you're asking questions, because I'm hoping that this will be, the kind of truth going out on the airwaves and podcasts that will be preventative. In other words, it will keep you from falling. And you might be asking a good question like, well, how do I guard my heart from falling into habitual sin patterns or justifications or any of that? And I would just say this. I think it's really about maturity. I think it's about becoming more and more like Jesus and knowing what it is that you're living for to begin with. When we make it about us, when we make it about what we want, how we want it, when we want it, and then I'm going to get it, and even though I know it wasn't right, I'm going to justify myself, that's when we can get in trouble. And that's the flesh, let's face it. The flesh wars against the spirit against the flesh. The two are contrary one to another. And sometimes we don't do what we want to do, what we ought to do. But truth is meant to set us free. That's what Jesus said. And truth can be very preventative. It can keep you from a fall. And that's our prayer for you right here at Walk in Truth, is that this truth going out, and hopefully going out to friends and family as well, will keep us pure, walking in holiness and walking in honor. This is Pastor Michael Lantz. This is Walk in Truth. And we do have a number you can call if you need prayer or just need to share your heart with a pastor. I hope you have a local church where you can do that. But if you do need someone to talk to, pastors are available Tuesday through Friday. That's about 9 to 4 Pacific time at 844-48-TRUTH. That's 844-48-TRUTH. And if you reach out, we'll be happy to receive your call. If you want to leave a message, if it's off hours, and maybe you just want to give a shout out and say, hey, I listen here and I appreciate it or whatever, the number is available to you, 844-48-TRUTH. We'll see you right here tomorrow as we talk about the cover-up and the confrontation.
Remember, Walk in Truth is a listener-supported ministry. Visit walkintruth.com to give. And join us tomorrow for the conclusion of The Anatomy of a Fall, the cover-up.
I will marry the poor girl. I'll bring her into my harem. I'll be her kinsman redeemer. David has even found a way to look good through this. But it was evil in the sight of the Lord.
I'm Mike Massaro. Thanks for listening to Walk in Truth, where it's our goal to equip you to reach out with God's truth to all people.